John, we've come to the end of the week in Spain. It's been so hot all week long. I'm knackered just standing outside and watching the lads. How have they done given what they've had to do this week?
They've done really well. I think it's been really good this year that we've had such a long period of time where we can actually build up some chronic training and some high training volume. Obviously previous years we've gone 7 days in, then into a competitive game or pre-season game, whereas we've actually had now 2 weeks worth of training. So obviously when the lads came back in, prior to obviously post-testing on the 1st of July, we've had 2 weeks now where we've been able to hit them really high with some high chronic training load. We've really been able to build up on that aerobic foundation in a sense of building a strong building block, so to speak, for what is going to be a long season ahead. Obviously, as you've seen in Spain, it's been double sessions most days. Lads have really committed to it. I think it's not just been a case of we've just ran them. As you've seen, there's been a lot of conditioning done with the balls and in conjunction with a lot of the coaching staff here at the club. With obviously, as you have seen, some conditioning running thrown in between that. So it's been a really good week out in Spain. Obviously, the heat plays a massive part of it, which does make it even harder for the lads. But the commitment and sort of the application, even from day one of pre-season, has been brilliant.
I'm sure obviously the sports science department play quite a big part in kind of deciding what the lads do while they're in an environment like this. How hard is it to kind of decide how much running they should do and how much football work there should be? Because you could just run them into the ground if you wanted to, but it hasn't just been that, as you mentioned.
No, it's not. It's, there's method in what we do and how we do. There's also large multiple department discussions. It's not just the coaches lead or sports science lead. We do it collaboratively across everyone. It's very much we work off metrics and volume of what we're going to look at each day. We also utilise our GPS quite a bit in a sense of that load monitoring of what we're doing and what we're putting them through. But one thing, like I said earlier, with that being slightly longer leading into that first game, obviously against Lincoln, is we've been able to be progressive with them numbers. We've not had to hit them too hard early on. Obviously having 8 weeks off from structured training, so to speak, even though they had plans to follow during the off-season, we've been allowed to sort of progress them loads through so that we're not trying to do too much too soon. We've been able to monitor our speeds. So like I said earlier, we've sort of started really sort of aerobic-based type conditioning. And then as the days have gone, as the weeks have gone on leading into the first game, we've sort of then started progressing more of our speed work into it. So we're progressing the velocities that the players are hitting in each session. So yeah, it's been we utilise the data that we have. It's very much used to inform the practice of what everybody does. And it's good that there's a real strong collaboration between both the coaching staff, sports science, medical, and obviously the manager.
It has actually been really interesting watching the lads do stuff with you guys, because you're always shouting numbers at them and you're looking at your iPads, and there's obviously a lot that goes into what can look quite simple, but there's a lot to prepare, there's a lot that goes in actually while they're doing it as well. Yeah,
of course there is. And obviously we utilise that information, we don't just, and even down to certain, the drills that the coaches put on, them conversations that happen about the duration of the work rate within the session, or the rep of the drill of, let's say we're doing 4 reps of X time for this recovery time. So everything's planned just usually down to the minute and obviously you've seen how we are with like the stopwatch and how we flow from one drill to the other. And everything's designed with a purpose, with a reason, with a methodology of what we're trying to achieve for that day.
As you mentioned, it's going to be a long season ahead, it always is in the Championship. Is this kind of thing coming to Spain an ideal start to pre-season, and then obviously we've got all the fixtures to follow, and then by the 9th of August you'll be hopeful that the lads will be ready to go? Yeah,
we're building into that first game of the season. That's why we have the 6-week plan. That's why we periodise our time frames across, not just off-season, pre-season, and then in-season. So we are leading into that first game. I think what you find as well is there's quite a lot of variables that sometimes that first game that you can't train for and can't quite control, so we try and prepare for as best as possible. But that continuous hard work and the approaches that we've taken this season will roll on throughout the season. Certainly when we're trying to manage players through what is, like we say, a relentless championship season of, when players are playing, when players may be out the side, so how do we manage them? Everyone is managed slightly different, but certainly this time of pre-season is laying them nice, big, strong foundations aerobically, and then going more match specific as we lead into the games.
What has also been interesting is seeing the lads check in before a session and after a session. They just jump onto the weighing scale straight away, and that's not really something I've been aware of in the past. Can you explain why they're doing that and what you're looking for with that?
Yeah, it's something that we've done the best part of 2 years now. It's something we do before every game and post game, and then certainly when we're away in sort of hot climates, like obviously going away to Spain, it's something we've utilised a lot. And it basically, by giving them a pre-weight and then weighing post session, it gives us a figure of what they've lost in kilograms. So on average, a player during, let's say, a 90-minute session, whilst we've been in Spain, has lost around 2 kg. And then what we can do is we can then work that loss in body weight into a replenishment number. So let's say they lose X, we then give them a number that they have to then replenish from a fluid aspect. So it could be 5 bottles of water, 6 bottles of water, whatever it may be. And it just makes that, because obviously the heat's a lot hotter over here, and the hydration, the food, the supplements play such a key part of not only prep for the session, but also the recovery for the next session. So it's something that we do quite regular, and it just we feel it makes it more sort of objective, so putting an actual figure to it. And it's something that we can monitor when they weigh in for the next session. Well, are they back to a hydrated level? So it's something that, like I say, we utilise quite a lot, and as you've seen, the lads are very well drilled on it, and it just helps us inform the players a little bit more. You know, everyone can go, well, make sure you drink more, or make sure you maintain hydrated status during your hot climates. But with us, by doing the pre and post weights, it actually gives us, like say, something objective. So they go, right, I know I need to drink X. And obviously we've supplemented that with a lot of hydration tablets, encouraging people to have more salt on the food, and as well as obviously things like the protein shakes post session to help with the recovery, as well as obviously all the active recovery we've done with the ice baths and the pool, and obviously very much, you've seen it obviously at dinner times and meal times, how much sort of food that the players consume, because the sort of the calories expenditure at the minute is obviously far greater, not only due to the bigger training load, but obviously to do with the heat as well. So yeah, so nutrition sort of and hydration's played a real big part in sort of prep, during and obviously post sessions.